Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Jake with Legacy 4x4 here again, and today we're going to be starting my shop extension. So, taking a break from the Woolies for a little bit. I just got back from doing some Army things for the last couple months, but now that we're back, I'm finally ready to extend my shop so that I have a little bit more space to work with. A little more space, especially for the bigger tools like the plasma table, so I can actually work on the truck and not have to be jumping over things. Anyways, let's catch you guys up to where we're at now, and let's get started on building some frames today. Alright, so while I was gone, my awesome wife had this concrete pad laid directly behind my existing shop. So the shop, as you can see behind me there, it is 16 feet wide total, and so we had a 16-foot wide pad laid down that goes back another 16 feet. I don't have the space in my yard to build outward and make the shop any wider, so instead we went deeper with it. So the total dimensions of the shop are now going to be 16 feet wide and 40 feet long. That should be plenty of space, I think, to fit everything that I need in it, to have one vehicle in there getting work done, and then space to fabricate and to work on stuff in the back of the shop. Off to the side, eventually, I will do an overhang over there where the compressor is located to provide some extra coverage on that side, so I can park my trailer underneath that to provide some protection for that. But for now, we're just doing this right here. So today, what we're going to do is I picked up a whole bunch of lumber, and what we're going to do is we're going to start framing this thing. The overall plan, we're going to have two solid walls on the side over there, and on the very back of the shop, and then right here closer to where my house is at, we're gonna remake this kind of style. So they're gonna be a man door and then a 9-foot wide roll-up garage door. So that's the basic idea. I think what we're gonna try to do today is get the lower walls framed and done, and then tomorrow or whenever I get a chance to work on it next, we will do the trusses and then skinning and all that kind of stuff. I admittedly am not a big woodworker. I don't have a lot of experience doing framing or anything like that. However, I looked up the codes, I looked up some other videos and things like that to learn how to do this best, and it seems pretty straightforward. For this project, we're going to be using mostly 2x4s. We got pressure treated 2x4s for the concrete side, and then just regular stud 2x4s for the rest of it. I don't think it's going to be too challenging, but we'll see how it ends up going. These things usually end up being much more complicated than they originally are intended to be, so it is what it is. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started, guys. All right, quick little progress update. You guys saw me rip down all of the old siding off of the immediate vicinity. That way we have something to tie some of these frame walls into, and then you saw that I just cut all of the wood to length. I am using my Slugger chop saw. I know it's a metal cutting saw. I put on a wood cutting blade onto it, and I'm just gonna use that because I already have it. It's fast, it's available, so we're just using that to do this. It's working pretty well though. Got a spider blade on it now. I just picked one up at Lowe's, it wasn't too expensive. And so I'm gonna use that to do all of the main, like, big wood cutting for this project. But now that we've got that all cut, we've got the side wall, everything is cut for it and ready to go. So now what I'm gonna do, fire up the air compressor. I'm gonna load up the new framing nailer that I got, and we're gonna start to put this thing together. Alright, so for the garage door side of this, I decided to save overhead room and to save some construction on not having to do a man door, and instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one 8-foot wide and 8-foot tall sliding barn door. I think this is going to look better on the outside for sure from my backyard looking in, but then also it's going to free up a ton of overhead room for me inside the shop, and it's going to actually free up some wall space too as well. The benefit of being a little bit easier to construct. I don't have to do any big headings for mounted garage doors of any kind. I just have to do a frame, do some kickers off the top there to give something to tie into. It's a lot easier to do, and it went by pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and knock out the garage door side of this, and then we'll move right along into doing the last back wall. And hopefully at the end of the day today, we're gonna have the 3 walls finished for the shop. All right, so in classic fashion, I did my beer math and I was off by 5 boards. Gotta make another quick trip to Lowe's, but we're almost done with this project. I'm on the very last wall, and I'm gonna try to get it done today. Tomorrow, we're gonna get right into it again, and we're gonna start doing the trusses. See you guys in the morning. All right, so moving right along, it's time to get to the trusses. I've already done a few of these, if I'm being honest. I've never made trusses before, so I wanted to do a few of them before I started recording what I was doing. What I ended up doing is I'm mimicking the other like 16 trusses that are on the rest of the shop. I'm mimicking that design exactly. I laid out the wood up on the rafter using the exposed truss that's right above us here, and I made it match perfectly. This took a while to do because really what I was doing is I'd put it up there, I'd cut, I'd measure, bring it back down, go up there, measure again, yada yada yada. I ended up getting something that was the perfect geometry and the perfect dimensions, but they weren't the cleanest of cuts. But it'll work. So I put it on the ground, I laid it out, and that is my base. Now that truss, because it's kind of sloppy, is not going to be used for the structural support of the ceiling. However, I'm going to use it to lay out the rest of the trusses. From there, I then put down the different pieces on top of it, lined it all up to make sure the geometry was accurate, nailed it together using the nail gun or a hammer, depending on if the nail gun wanted to cooperate or not. And then after that, I would just cut the inner support pieces and then nail those together, and then away we went. To get the trusses onto the roof, again, you'll see here in a second the way I did this for the last 2 trusses. The majority of them were a lot easier than the last 2 trusses were to get up. What I would basically do is I'd use physics and leverage, and I would lean one side up on the far wall. I would then pick up the other side and walk it up on the ladder until I had it fully resting, upside down, with the point of the truss pointing down towards the ground of the garage. After that, I would then center the ladder up in the middle, flip it up, rest it onto the preceding truss right behind it. I built using some 2x2 angle, and I made a couple little square brackets. So I put one on each side of the header rail on the garage frame, screw those into the stud, and then I would use that to square up everything perfectly and give me something to clamp the truss onto while I went through and did all the toe nailing. Very tedious, but I did do this by myself. I probably should have called a friend, but I didn't. I knocked it out myself. It is possible, but I will admit this was the hardest and most frustrating part of this project thus far. That's the method. Let's go and show you guys what this looks like on the ground to do. All right, so with everything complete now, we are finished with the frame of the garage. I will admit, this was a ton of work. It was a lot more than I was expecting it to be. It looked pretty simple when I was doing my research for this, but trying to do this by myself was a lot of work, and it got frustrating at times, especially when I got up to doing the trusses. Those were doable, but extremely challenging to do by myself, and there was definitely some frustration level as I was putting those together. But hey, it's all finished now, and I'm glad it's done, and now I can say that I built this extension 100% by myself, which is kind of cool. So moving on, we've got all 8 of the trusses on the roof, and we've got the frames framed for the entire shop. I'll go ahead and show you guys what this looks like, and then we'll close out. So as you guys just saw there, this really does add quite a bit to my shop. It's a 16 foot by 16 foot extension off of what was previously a 16 foot wide and 24 foot deep shop. So I obviously wish I could have gone wider with the shop as a whole, but that just didn't work, one, either logistically, or two, just with the space of my yard. As you guys will see in a future video when I show you the front of the shop, there really isn't any room to go left or right to make the shop any wider than it is, so we went deep back into my backyard, giving me the extra space that I need. I'm also extremely excited about the barn door setup. My wife talked me into doing that one, and I'm very happy with that idea. It's going to give me plenty of room inside here. I'm not losing any headroom now for any type of roll-up door, and I don't even have to make a man door, which is really nice too. So I just have one big opening, big enough for me or for small trucks or like my lawnmower to drive through, which is all I really need it for. If I'm bringing in a big truck, it's going to come in from the front of the garage through the main garage door anyways. There's really nowhere for it to go in my backyard, so not too worried about that. Anyways, super excited about how this worked out. For my first time doing this kind of work, I'm very pleased with it. There's a couple imperfections, obviously, like all things, but for the most part, this is workable. This will pass code. I'm very happy with the way this worked out, and I'm really excited to finish up this video series and have some more workspace. I hope you guys are excited for the rest of this video series. I know I am. I'm enjoying the chance to learn something new and to kind of do some stuff I'm not super comfortable with. So make sure to like, share, and subscribe. See you guys next time.